Hi, Gail Foley here from my home office. I am with Banner Season and I'm always sharing the reason why to be grateful. But today, what I want to talk about is the power of the words that you put into your cards or letters or postcards. However, you want to connect with someone and share your feelings outside of social media, outside of that email. How do you convey your feelings sometimes when you're really unable to express them in person? You know, I keep a lot of things. I am one of these collectors that if I see something that I think my audience might like to hear about, I keep things. And I started going through some things today when the subjects I kept coming up with, I had already talked about, maybe once, twice, several times. Didn't want to bore you today. So I went through this file and I found something from March 15th, 2015. That was the Ides of March, and my parents were married on March 15th. So I just pulled this out, and it's about letters that changed our world. Have you ever written a letter or sent a card that you really, really put your heart and soul into it, and then you sent it, and it changed your life, changed the person's life that received it? What about when you go through piles of old stuff from your parents or even yourselves? I have saved every card that has ever been sent to me. I've not saved all my letters, but I've saved a lot of things. I still have my letters from my Japanese pen pals that I had, I think, in 5th grade. My daughter and I actually uncovered them the other day when we were going through some old photos and some old memories. But here's what I want to convey to you. In this article that I read, some of the things that have been written have actually changed the world in so many ways. For example, when John F. Kennedy was out there stranded in the ocean, he put SOS on a coconut shell and actually led to his rescue. Where would our world have been if we hadn't known a John F. Kennedy? I would have missed that. Where would your world be if you didn't take time to send that special letter because something was weighing on your heart? And I talk about letters because that's what the article's about. But I also believe that you can put the same words in a simple card, because a lot of us get stuck with how to word something. We've got the feelings. We know how we feel, but how do we say it? How do we say it so it comes across right? How do we say it so that my feelings are actually on the paper, transferred from my heart? One thing I do know is that when you text something or you email something, you can't always put those emotions into that. I cannot express to you how important this is for you to hear me. Years ago, I had a very negative, just a very annoying, negative individual in my life. And she had sent me an email, and I reacted. I was so furious with this person, just furious with this person. It was always negative, never anything positive. Did not matter what it was. She was poking you all the time with her negativity. And so I was so inflamed when I got that, so inflamed that I just immediately responded back and I said, I have to tell you that if you cannot be more positive about things and frame things in a different way, I can no longer associate with you. Now, this was a tough decision for me because she was actually on my team, in my business team. But she actually, every time I got a phone call, I got a text, or I got an email, I would tense up because I knew it was going to be mad news. Just seemed to be delighted in doing that. I did not know how seriously she was addicted to alcohol. Did not excuse her behavior. But those were the times she was most negative. So when I responded that way, and just very angrily from my part, she wrote back and she said words to me that really made me stop and said, of all people, I thought you would be more supportive. And so I had to take a deep breath. And even though I really did not like this person, did not want her in my life, I knew she was right. I needed to step up and be the one person that could listen to her and maybe persuade her otherwise. But it had dinged at me and dinged at me so much that I just reacted. Well, here's the good thing. She appreciated when I responded back in a different way, told her I was sorry. She was absolutely right. I should have listened to her and understood where she was coming from. Didn't mean things calmed down between us, but I heard her. And here's what I truly believe is important to take from that. When you get something like that and you respond that way, you just, boom, it's like that. But you take time to put words to paper, whether doing it online with card business or you do it on a piece of paper. You can reframe it and reframe it and reframe it and re-say it, and you just massage it to death until your feelings are expressed the way you really want them to come across. And then when you put it in the mail or you hit send, put that stamp on it, you hand deliver it, you have not just reacted. You have sent something from your heart. And that to me is how letters have probably changed our world. They sat down and they gave serious thought to what they said in those letters. And there are some letters that are discovered, never read, and destroyed. Simply because somebody says, I don't need that in my life. I don't need to know, what my parents' love letters were. Those are stories. Those are stories of our lives. And there are people in this world, and you may be one of them listening to me, that did not have your family for whatever reason. And somebody finds an old letter, an old postcard. That brings them back to life for you. It makes you understand them. There's the personality in them. I love reading my old postcards from my grandmother and both my grandmothers actually, because I could just sort of hear their voices, and I could, remember how they were. They've been gone a long, long time. But I kept those cards and I opened them up, and that little message. I have a very special note that my dad gave me when he gave me my first raise. I have that little treasure. And my dad's special handwriting. And let me tell you, he's been gone a long time. But when I read that little note, it's like he just gave it to me. So please don't discount the power of your written word, no matter how you do it. If you write it on a coconut and hand it to somebody, if you put it in a card, if you put it on a notepad and you just roll that legal note and you put it in an envelope and you dress it and you stamp it, whether that person really gets it or not, you know in your heart that you let that person in. You let that person know how you feel. And I'm telling you, whether it's bad, good, or ugly, and you've got to say something, it for me, has been one of the best therapies in the world. Sometimes I'll write out an angry letter to someone that has been not so nice to me, but I've not sent that letter. That was for me. It wasn't for them. But then I felt good, and I was able to move forward with that. So maybe that's a situation you need to deal with, that somebody has just wronged you or done something behind your back, and you can't approach them. You know it won't do you any good, but you can't let it fester. You can't let it eat at you. You can't let it sit on your shoulders and just gnaw at you all day. You can't ingest that poison. That person doesn't know that you've ingested that poison because they're probably off living their life, not even aware that they've caused you this. And that's what that person that had written me that email, she had no idea how stirred up I got when I heard from her, because that was just who she was. So I know you're probably wondering, what the heck's got this to do with anything? Well, it's got to do with you. It's got to do with me. It's got to do with life. We need to live in the moment, but knowing that moment that we live, if we put it in a card, we put it in a letter, might mean something to someone that crosses our path unknowingly when we're long gone. Because that's going to happen. So when I get my cards out from my grandmothers, from my mom, from my dad, they mean the world to me. And maybe I'm just sentimental. I don't know. Well, I guess I am a little bit. But pictures we take these days, we keep them in our phones. But thankfully, they weren't always kept in the phone. I have boxes and boxes of old pictures, which we cherish. And my daughter says to me the other day, she walks in, she says, I want to look at our pictures. And we sit down and we go through all these old photos and all these memories that I get to share with my daughter. Where were we with this one, Mom? Oh, I remember that, Mom. Oh, was this Grandpa? Was it? That is cool. But if you're not taking your pictures out of your phone and putting them on a card or taking them to a drugstore and getting them developed, those are memories that somebody else may never see. But if you put your words to paper and somebody receives them in the mail, there's a memory. There's something special someone can hold on to. It's your memory they've got. What about you? You have those boxes of photos sitting around somewhere? Got those special letters somewhere? Do you need to say something to somebody? Why don't you do it today? Why wait? And with that said, and my voice gets froggier and froggier, I probably should just wrap this up and ask you to please pass on a smile today, because it is contagious. And maybe when you're doing that, stop and write a note to yourself and say, pass on more smiles. Because it's going to make a difference to somebody today, just like that letter or card you send in the mail. It will make a difference. It really, truly will. And with that said, on this beautiful, beautiful day, I'm going to say bye-bye.